Paul, your son Daniel was scheduled to go on the trip, but in the end didn't go. So he survived, but he lost 6 of his friends and his favourite teacher as well. So how's he doing today?
Yeah, well, it's 2 days after. He slept last night for the first time. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster. He's been at times incredibly strong. Other times the impact of losing 6 people he knew, or 7 people he knew, 6 of his own age, 4 great friends and the teacher that he was really close to. So it's not been easy, but he's remarkable.
So the night after the incident, you had no idea what was going on?
Yeah. We were sitting at home and watching the news, actually, and Marie grabbed my leg at the end of the news because there was some comment about this school trip that kids were missing out, and Marie said, that could be Daniel, that's Daniel. And so we made some phone calls and discovered after some time, I think it might have even been up to an hour, that it was in fact Daniel's school. And that group of 40 that had gone from the Elim Christian College, they were the ones involved. And so we were trying to get as much information by every means, and finally ended up going down to the college, which is just around the corner from where we live.
And there were other parents there?
Yeah, there were parents coming, there were distraught people, there were people not knowing what to do. And yet, at the same time, it was well organised, and so we just tried to get some information. But we weren't sure whether Daniel was one of the ones missing for I think, a total of about 5.5 hours.
And that must have been a terrible time.
Oh, you just don't know, and you hear conflicting reports. The media, again, they'll give what they have, and whether it's right or not. The police weren't confirming. Police had different views on some things, but it wasn't just us. I mean, it was all of the families and all the people, and of course the school teachers and Murray the headmaster and everybody that was there. It was kind of like a real, fairly intense time, but well organised,
The mainstream media, the way that they handled it with the church and the school, were you surprised at how that went?
No, it's been encouraging. I mean, it's being a pastor of a large ministry and just wanting the world to understand that actually Christians, there is a side to Christianity I think a lot of the population don't know about. And, in the most tragic of situations, and the heartbreak and the emptiness and the loss, as now we understand there to be, yet such incredible sense of hope and working together and honour of each other, both inside the church and outside the church. And I don't think we should ever draw that line of difference anyway, but the media have been moved because of the gravity of what's happened, but then also the response of the parents that have just found out they've lost a child, and then schoolmates that are standing together, and it's kind of like that's not the worldview that they get so often, so it's been remarkable.
Of course, the question that everyone's asking is, how does this happen to a Christian school?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, how do you answer, the question that if God is in control, then why these things? I'm in a position too where I'm trying to find some answers to some of those questions. And I think sometimes in the church we feel like we have to have answers for everything. Yet I don't think that's the case. In fact, if we had answers for everything, we in fact would be God, but we're not. It sounds like a cop-out, but I don't think it is. We live in light of eternity. And so a lot of the things we don't have answers for will be seen on the other side. And I also have said to 1 or 2 people, I think the depth of our faith and the depth of our hope is only seen when things that aren't victorious, aren't coming together, are taking place. And I think hope is the richest when we can't see anything else, but we still have hope. Faith is the strongest when we haven't got a conclusion, we don't have a victory, and yet we still have faith. And sometimes in the church, we preach hope and faith always with a great outcome, but that's not biblical faith. A lot of the outcome happened after the death, after the end of that person, and yet it still took place. And so, yeah, I don't think we're copping out. I think, some of those that don't believe in God say, well, it's just another cop-out. No, I think God is still God. We have to face life. Life does bring challenges. It does bring the unexpected. If God had his way and this was the right season, none of us would even die ever. But we're in a season because of sin and because of the shape of the world that death is a reality. And I think sometimes the challenge is really to look at death and allow death to give us some perspectives on life that maybe are a reminder to help us really that still have life realise how short it is, realise we've got to make it count, know that some young people live to the full and we're great examples. But still, yeah, there are many questions, and I'm sure for the parents, you know, it's like we don't have to come up with we can't come up with all the answers, but God is still God, and out of it something will come to his glory.
How does the school and the community come to terms with something like this?
I don't know. I think like they're doing, you know, the Principal Murray's been amazing. The school's phenomenal. All you can do is take one step at a time. And I love the way that they haven't tried to answer all the questions, but have created an environment where those that want to stop and pray can stop and pray. Those that feel like they need to fill their mind with something can come back to school. Whatever needs to happen, let's look for God in it. And God's going to address himself and be real to us in all different ways. So how can you move forward? I think we've got to be real about the now. Realise that in God we can step into a new tomorrow, but not rush it. I think, again, even in our Western society, we rush some of these things and we don't give it time to grieve and to see it for what it is. And I think the depths of despair are very real. You know, emotion is something that God's given us, and we need to see and try and just go through the season, hang on to get through it. But there will be a sun that rises tomorrow, and it will still be filled with emptiness, but God is still there. And, you know, I said to some of the young people, I said, when you lose somebody that you know is going to die, it's huge. When you lose somebody unexpected, it's even greater. But to lose 7, we have got a big pathway in front of us. But it's not just them. It's the whole Christian community that are standing together in prayer. And I think that's where we see our best side, is not asking the question necessarily why, but asking questions like, well, what for? What can come from this God? And already I think we're seeing New Zealand touched by a side of Christianity they haven't seen. And we need to pray and stand together in that.
There's been a tremendous outpouring of love and support from around the country.
Yeah, not just the Christian community, but I think all over, because of the genuineness of the response of those involved. I mean, to have a dad who's just lost a daughter, who's just stood up and said, hey, you know, can't see past today personally, right now, but God is a God of tomorrow, that type of stuff. And yeah, realness touches hearts. And, you know, we just know that God will work some things together for good through this, even though it was never his intention, I believe, for that to happen. But he's still in charge.
And Paul, thank you very much indeed for your time.